Okay, hi everyone, welcome to today's webinar. So for today's session, we are going to be looking at this week's pre-market live analysis. We'll give 1 to 2 more minutes to let more people join our session. In the meantime, let me know in the chat if you guys can hear me and see my slides. And yeah, we'll get started in about 1 more minute. Thanks everyone. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and get started. So for those of you guys who've just joined, welcome to today's pre-market live analysis. I'm Melanie, and let's go ahead and get started. So as per usual, a disclaimer and risk warning. This is marketing communication and does not contain and should not be construed as containing investment advice or an investment recommendation or an offer of or solicitation for the transactions in financial instruments. Trading forex and CFDs carries a high level of risk to your capital, and you should only trade with money you can afford to lose. Trading forex and CFDs may not be suitable for all investors, so please ensure that you fully understand the risk involved, and seek independent advice if necessary. Please read and ensure you fully understand our risk disclosure. So, as per usual, our agenda will focus on FX majors, commodities, crypto, and indices. Basically, any requests from you guys, we'll try and go through as many charts as we can during this time. Yeah, so feel free to pop any requests for charts you'd like me to go through in the chat below. Okay, I'm Melanie and I'll be your speaker for today. I'm an investment analyst at Rocket, who are finalists for Best FX and Equity Research in the years 2019 to 2021. We specialize in technical analysis with a focus on Fibonacci retracements, extensions, and projections. Okay, let's go ahead and start by looking at um, this upcoming week's economic events. Okay, so a I'm gonna use forexfactory.com, but you can use any economic calendar that you want. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at this week's financial events. So you can see for this week there aren't that many medium to high impact events. I filtered it to focus mainly on the orange and the red icons, as you can see here. These are the medium to high impact events, as I mentioned, and the yellow box are the lower impact events. And gray are non-economic events like bank holidays. You can also filter any event types that you're not particularly looking at or any currencies that you're not trading. I just prefer to look at all of them. Apply filter, and you can see there are a lot more events to cover. Okay, so that's why we typically prefer to just focus on the medium to high impact events because these will affect our charts the most as well. Okay, so for today, we don't have any events coming up. On Tuesday, we have Australia's cash rate, which is expected to drop to 3.6% from a previous 3.85, followed by the RBA rate statement and press conference. On Wednesday, we have Canada's IV PMI, China's CPI year-on-year data, and PPI year-on-year data. We also have New Zealand's official cash rate, which is expected to remain the same at 3.25%, followed by the RBNZ rate statement. We also have China's new loans data. And on Thursday, we have the US FOMC meeting minutes and unemployment claims. And on Friday, we have UK GDP month-on-month data, as well as Canada's employment change and unemployment rate. And that's all of the events for this week. So let's go ahead and jump into our charts. I can see a couple of requests. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, give me 1 second to pull out our charts. Okay, let's get started with DXY first. Okay. So let's start with DXY. And then I'll try and go through as many charts as we can. I can see there are a bunch of requests in the chat. Okay. So starting on our higher time frame. So I'm going to use our weekly time frame first. So this gives us an idea of the general direction of price. We have prices generally dropping on our weekly time frame. On our daily time frame, we also see this downtrend here. Okay. And then let's take a look at our 4-hour time frame as well. Okay, and you can also definitely see prices moving in this downtrend here. Okay, might not be a valid trend line. Oh, okay. It is a valid trend line because we have 3 touches on the trend line. Okay, so we have a nice descending trend line here, which further confirms our bearish sentiment. Let's look at daily. Okay, we're gonna do our analysis on the daily time frame since this is the analysis for the week. Okay, so here I have prices moving downwards. I'm gonna start by placing our horizontal levels. So to start, I'll place a first resistance up here. Okay, I don't want to place my first support too far down, so I'm not going to place it in line with that swing low over here. Okay, I'll instead maybe give you guys another option. You can place a second support here and then our first support up here. And then I'll place a second resistance over here. Okay, so now that we have our horizontal levels, let's go in with our Fibonacci levels. Okay, you can see my 127. So the first retracement I'm using is what we call the Nike tick or Fibonacci extension. And you can see the shape that we're looking for here, which is in the name, is a Nike tick. Here it's an inverted Nike tick, and the levels that we're using for this method are the levels that are greater than 100. So normally the 127 as well as the 161.8, but here I'm using 161.8 because you can see price has already broken out of this 127 level. And it's also broken out the 138 technically if we zoom in. Okay, but I might just keep that 138 as well. Okay, so we have our first two Fibonacci levels. Okay, and then next I'm going in with our projection. And I can see here, I think prices have already broken out of these levels, but I just want to check. Yep, so for projection, we use the levels up to the 161.8. And you can see prices have pretty much broken through all of the levels, so I won't use that anymore. Next, I'm just going to use a very simple retracement. And here I'm looking for levels to line up with the first support, and maybe the first resistance, or somewhere in between the first resistance and our first support. Okay, so our 78.6 lines up with the first support. I'm also gonna keep, no, I'm not gonna keep the 88. We normally don't really use the 88, so we normally just look at the levels up till 78.6. Okay, so you can see the 78.6 doesn't line up exactly with our first support, and that's fine because we're more so looking for confluence areas where two or more Fibonacci levels line up, not so much specific levels here. Okay, I'm going in again with another retracement over here. Okay, and I'm going to use the 23% in line with our second resistance. Okay, here I'm taking a Fibonacci projection, and this is the shape that I'm looking for. It's kind of like a lightning bolt or like a zigzag kind of shape, something like that. Okay. And you can see our 61, 78, and 100 line up really nicely with our these three levels. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep that 78 and that 100 here. Okay, wait, we have a question. Let me just check. Are we looking at the daily time frame for this? Because, okay, let me see if I can find a channel. Mm, oh, okay, I see what you mean. Okay, it hit the second resistance 3 times and then it finally managed to break out of it. Yep, so if you're looking at it from that perspective, I wouldn't say that it's been ranging because you can see the drop in price has been quite significant. We can't just look at where prices reacted off of at the second resistance. You need to kind of see the how much it dropped by as well. So you can see these swing highs for reference. And then it finally broke below the second resistance here on the fourth time. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, on the fourth time and managed to break below it. So yeah, you could say it. I won't say it's been ranging because ranging tends to imply that it's been moving sideways a little bit. Even though because the movement is quite big. But yes, it definitely has finally been able to break below the second resistance here. Yep. And I wouldn't really call this. Wait, let me check. Would I call this a channel? Okay, so if you are, because you use the word channel, so if you were looking for more of like yep, here like a bearish channel here, you would be looking for something like this kind of shape where there are two swing highs that touch the top and two swing lows like over here. Okay, no worries. Yeah, so this would be, a channel. Yeah, just wanted to bring that up since you mentioned that. And yeah, I missed this shape as well earlier. Okay, but that also further confirms our bearish analysis here. Okay, so now that we have all of our Fibonacci levels, I don't think there are any other levels that we've missed out. Let me just check. Yeah, seems like that's it. Okay, so looking at what we have now, we have a huge confluence area at the first support level here. Okay, and confluence areas tend to attract price, but might not be able to break below it. Okay, so here we are going to see if price is able to break below this first support. Um, okay, let's first take a look at a couple of indicators to see if they support our analysis. So I like to start with Ichimoku and MACD. You can see prices moving below the cloud, so that's giving us a bearish signal. MACD, you can see, is also giving us a bearish signal here. Now let's look at Bollinger Bands, EMA, SMA. Okay, with Bollinger Bands, okay, Bollinger Bands aren't really telling us anything here. Okay, so I'm not gonna use this for now. With SMA, okay, let me zoom in. You can see price still moving below these two indicators. Okay, so that still supports our analysis here. Still bearish signals. And my camera has frozen. Okay, please ignore that. Next, let's look at our RSI and stochastic. Yeah, as long as you guys can hear me and see my charts. Yeah. If there are any other issues, please let me know. So with RSI and stochastic, you can see stochastic is moving below the 20 level here. Okay, which suggests that prices are currently in the oversold region. Okay, so that means that prices may be due for a rebound, and you can kind of already see prices start to um rebound slightly, like it's moving upwards a little bit. So when you see this happen, you want to make sure that there is sufficient space between where your entry is and your stop loss, so that there is enough space for price to make that slight bounce before it continues in the downtrend. If you look at stochastic, it's not really giving us that same oversold signal, but okay, this is not really a valid trend line either. But you can see prices, oops. Yep, you can definitely see prices are moving downwards on the RSI here. Okay, so also supports our analysis. Okay, you can see this downtrend. Okay, so with our first support and the second support, you could wait for prices to hit the first support or break below the first support before going in for a further sell to the second. You could do a partial profit at the first support and then the second. Personally, I think I would wait for price. I would do one to the first support and then do a second one to the second support after it fully breaks below it, just for that extra confirmation. Okay, and that's it for DXY. Any other questions? Okay, if not, let's go ahead and look at gold now. Okay, so on our weekly time frame, you can see prices generally moving in this uptrend here. Now on our daily time frame, it's kind of fluctuating here recently. Okay, with prices kind of hitting this resistance level here and not being able to push above it. Now on our 4-hour time frame, you can see um we kind of have this a bit of a flag shape here. Okay, with the resistance and prices or the lows generally making higher lows here. Okay, let's do our analysis on the daily time frame again. Okay, actually no, let's look at 4 hours instead. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly go ahead and add our support levels here. Okay, I'll add my first support at the double swing low. First resistance at this swing high here. Okay, no, I'll place my first resistance here instead. And then my intermediate resistance over here. Okay, so for my first support, I'm just gonna put it back where I moved it. Reason being, um, it was a bit far from where price was at. So I prefer to have my first support and first resistance pretty close to price, as you can see. But of course, this is the 4-hour time frame, so you're welcome to move it to the second support or second resistance if you wish. Okay, now I'm going in with our Fibonacci levels once again. Here I'm looking for a level to line up with the second support, and my 61 lines up exactly. Okay, I have another retracement here. 61 once again. Mm, 61 and 50%. I'll keep those two. Okay, and here I have an inverted Nike tick. Okay, my 12138. Okay, so the inverted Nike tick shape is here. Okay, next, let's go in with a projection. Okay, my 61.8 lines up nicely with our second resistance there. Okay, I think that's all the levels we have here. Let's go in with our indicators. Because just from looking at the chart, if we don't look at our indicators, it kind of looks like prices are moving in an uptrend, right? Because earlier we identified the shape, okay, and we had this ascending trend line here. Okay, so in my head, I'm gonna follow that. I can see price recently breaking out of the cloud, so that supports our analysis. But if you look at MACD, that doesn't support. Now looking at Bollinger Bands. Okay, so Bollinger Bands aren't really telling us much here, so I'm not going to use this. EMA, SMA, you can see it's kind of fluctuating. It's crossing over and under, so I don't really want to use this because it's not giving us a very clear signal. But if you look at RSI, you can see it's giving us a quite a bullish signal with prices with the indicator kind of giving us kind of moving upwards, okay? But if you look at RSI, it looks like it's dropping. Okay, so we'll KIV this as well. Because as of right now, it's not really moving into the oversold or overbought regions. It's just kind of in the middle and not giving us um much. So I won't use that. Okay, so here I would follow the general trend. That's what the that's what we normally would advise. But if you want, you can wait for price to give you a stronger trend. And you can do this, or you would know this by looking at the indicators that we've looked at. So by just keeping an eye out on them, okay, or any other indicators that you're using. But because just looking from the chart here, it's not really telling us much. It is kind of moving sideways as well, but the overall direction is still kind of bullish here. Okay, so you can wait for price to break above this swing high here, this double swing high, or actually triple swing high here. Okay, never mind. Or you can just go ahead for a buy towards the first resistance. Okay, but these are the key levels and things that you should take note for gold. Okay, let's move on. Let's look at the next. What's the price at the first resistance? 3390.673. Okay, next let's look at US 30. Okay, so weekly time frame prices generally moving upwards, although you should take note that it's approaching the previous two swing highs. Okay, so the question now will be more if price is able to break out of this swing high here. Okay, let's maybe analyze this on 4 hours. Okay, no, let's do the daily. Um, I'm gonna do this quite quick, okay, because we are running out of time. So I'll do um I'll do a first support. I'll do a first support here. So your entry would be somewhere. Oops, I think that's too close. Yeah, your entry would be somewhere here. And then you would be trying to see if price is able to break above the first resistance. Okay, let's look at some of the hmm. Okay, let's look at all the projection levels here. Okay, I'm also going to be looking at the retracement here. Okay, my 168 lines up. I think, yep, my 127 also lines up nicely there. Okay, here I'm looking for levels to line up with the second support, which I'm actually going to place further down here. Okay, so the 78.6 lines up nicely. Again, going in with one more retracement here. Okay, my 78, oh no, my 38 lines up. Okay. So once again, I'm gonna go through the indicators. Okay, we have praise pushing above the Bollinger Band. So that's giving us a bullish signal here. Oops. Oh, okay. So it's giving us a bullish signal. Price is also moving above the Ichimoku cloud, so that also supports our bullish analysis. You can see MACD also giving us bullish signal here. EMA, SMA, you can see prices moving above it, so also bullish signal. So where it might give us a bit of an issue is if you look at stochastic as well as RSI. So both of the um, momentum indicators. Okay, so if you look here, we have a okay. This isn't a hidden support because it lines up nicely with price. So you can see the where prices reverse off the first resistance line up with where the stochastic indicator has reversed off as well. Okay, but you can see it's currently reversing off that same level here on our stochastic. Okay, so that could be a signal that prices are going to reverse off here. Not just here. If you look at the RSI as well, you can see the indicator kind of reversing off. Another point to note is that both the stochastic and the RSI are both in their overbought regions. So they might be due for a rebound as well. So this is all just to say that we might see prices reverse off the first resistance again. And I'm not seeing, even though the indicators here are giving us a bullish signal, I'm not sure if there is enough upward momentum to continue pushing it above the first resistance. So for extra confirmation, I would wait for price to break above the first resistance before going in towards the second. Because there are so many indicators that are, not too many, but the stochastic and the RSI are giving us reversal signals here. Okay, and also price hasn't been able to break out of that first resistance as well. Okay, so I will keep an eye on this first support and first resistance level. I think if it breaks below that first support, if it actually reverses off the first resistance and it further drops below that first support, I would instead go in for a sell towards that second support. So I would wait and see. Yeah, but you can look at these indicators and decide if you want to take the risk or yeah. Okay. Oh, yes, I'm looking at US 30 now. I'm pretty sure you requested for this US 30. Yeah. Okay, but of course, don't just look at the technical analysis, look at the fundamentals as well. But here I only have time to focus on the technicals. Okay, for our last pair, I think we only have time for one more. Let's go ahead and look at Bitcoin. Okay, so on our weekly time frame, with prices pushing upwards, daily time frame as well. Here we kind of see our first resistance here. Price is going to be pushing above it. Okay, and then my first support will be here. And so my second resistance, I'll just leave it here for now. And then we will go in with our Fibonacci and adjust it accordingly. Okay, so you can see my 1 to 7 lines up, or rather I'll place my second resistance there. Here we have the Nike tick once again. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep that 127. I'm not gonna bother with the levels above that because it's quite far from where price is currently at, and I'm trying to see if price is even able to break out of this first resistance in the first place. Okay, so I just want to focus on the 127 here. Okay, next let's look at the projections. So my 78, yeah, I'm gonna keep the 78 and also that 61. Okay, for the projections. Next, I'm going in with a simple retracement to see if we have any levels for that first support. So I'll keep that 38. Okay, so you can see that our first resistance, price has tested this level quite a number of times. So similar to before, we're not sure if it's able to push past this first resistance and hit towards the second. Even though the overall direction or the general direction that price has been moving in is pretty bullish. Okay, let's look at our indicators. So price is moving above the cloud, so it's giving us a bullish signal. But then Japan's they're not giving us a very strong signal here. So I'm not gonna use this. EMA, SMA prices are moving above both of these moving averages, so that is giving us a bullish signal. MACD you can see is also giving us a bullish signal here. With RSI, it's moving upwards. So that's fine. But with stochastic, it's also moving upwards, but prices are moving into the overbought region. It's not so intense compared to the previous charts that we looked at because it hasn't really reached this kind of I guess resistance level yet. But still worth noting. Okay, so again for this because it has tested so many times, I would wait for price to break out of the first resistance and then go in for a buy to the second. If you want to do something similar to before, uh, no. Yeah, no, I would just focus on this first resistance level here. See if it breaks out before going in for a buy. Okay. Yeah, that's about it, I think, for this. Any questions or okay, great. Yeah, it looks the overall direction is still pretty bullish. You can just tell from just looking at the chart. A lot of our indicators that we're looking at now are also giving us bullish signals. So overall, I think it's currently bullish. Um, I'm just My concern is just this resistance level here because it has been tested quite a number of times. So I'm just unsure if it's able to break above that first resistance and subsequently hit towards our second resistance. Also because if you look at the stochastic, it is giving us an overbought signal, which means that it may be due for a rebound soon. So yes, yeah, it's near strong resistance. So yeah, just focus and keep your eye out for this first resistance level here. Yep, I would only buy if it breaks out of the resistance, just to kind of play it safe. Okay, any other questions? If not, that's about it for today. Yeah, thank you guys so much for joining me today. I had fun and I hope you guys learned something or found this session useful. And I will see you guys again soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Have a great rest of your week. Oh, yes. If you guys found this session useful, please hit the like button. Consider subscribing. And yeah, we'll see you guys again soon. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nick. Have a great rest of your week. Bye.